All right. Welcome to the Record Night Podcast. I'm Colin. On video for the first time in Record Night Podcast history. So you're getting a little bit of a look here at the Record Night studios, if you will. Okay, so not a traditional episode coming your way here. We have been affected by this whole COVID-19 situation. Kyle's been busy with work. Jake is isolating himself currently. So Joe and I we did get together this past week and recorded an episode, so that'll be available soon. But before we listened to the record, Joe and I took a little bit of time to talk about what we remember about Record Night starting and becoming a thing. And then when I was able to talk to Jake via Skype, and I sort of asked him the same thing. So I spliced it and diced it all together. So this is just our recollections of the origin of Record Night. So we'll have some more episodes coming soon. But in the meantime, appreciate you listening. Stay healthy out there. This is the Record Night Podcast.
What's cool about it is I just remember, I don't think we had hung out as a group for quite some time, like a couple years. I know you hung out with Joe and you were watching like wrestling and stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, like I was busy in my own little bubble. We were all kind of doing our own thing. And one night you're just like, hey man, come over. And I think this might have been a UFC fight. And usually that would be the occasion where we get together a couple times, like every few months. But
We were all here for a UFC, and after the UFC was over, we were just hanging out, and Jake had a cigar, and so
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we went into the dining room, and so I just kind of like put on some music just in the background, like whatever, just talking or whatever,
That's right.
and yeah, I just had it on in the background, but then it quickly turned into, oh dude, here, put this song on, like check this song out, and then before you knew it, like we were just going around.
I just remember putting on the speaker and hooking up our Bluetooth to the speaker and just for about 8 hours straight, it must have been.
And so we did that until like 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
You know. And so like eventually you guys leave. And now the sun's coming up.
I remember going home at like 4 or 5 in the morning just with some brewskis, just throwing a bunch of music back and forth, stuff like Johnny Cash and Gangstar and just a whole wide array of different kinds of music. And we were just like, man, we should do this more often, like every week. So, and that's how it came about. The rest is history.
And then I got up and I thought, no, that was fun as shit. That was way funner than the UFC. Like, we should do that again sometime. So I remember, like, I texted you guys, like, hey, like, we should do that again. Come up with, like, a list ahead of time of songs you want to listen to, and then we can kind of do the same thing. And in fact, I still have a playlist on Spotify that I made for that express purpose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember because I just put, it's called JJC, just Jake Joe Colin, the songs I put on it. These were more like at the time too. It's kind of like I'm trying to like songs with lyrics or something that I thought like this is why this is cool or whatever.
Yeah, because that night we were listening to Johnny Cash or like I hung my head, right?
That was the one that really hit me. That I was like, oh, that's a great song, and yeah.
Johnny Cash is excellent.
We listened to a ton. I wish I could remember what we listened to because that's the other thing too. It's taking turns. Like we would get into we all of a sudden we're listening to like different hip hop stuff and like one thing just led to another the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember wanting to do it again. But then, do you recall how it progressed into like, okay, let's listen to records instead?
Not really, but I think it came as a surprise that we all actually had vinyl collections already.
And then, like, I thought, well, wait a second, like, I've got a record player and like pretty good speakers. Like, I knew you had records and a record player, but I didn't know Jake did. So then it was kind of like Jake was like, yeah, I've got records. And I was like, oh, all right, well, all right. Why don't you guys bring a record over next time and we'll all listen to a record?
And that's how it all started.
I don't think it was that we just started listening to vinyl. Like I'd gotten a record player, an old 80s Sony record player from my brother-in-law's dad. And my brother-in-law gave it to me. And I said, yeah. And they got me, I think, an Atmosphere record as well to go along with it for Christmas. It was little like it was a singles. It was a pack of singles, like 5 or 6 singles. And but yeah, I mean, we had already had our own record collections. Like, hey, like maybe we should do it this way. I mean, vinyls are kind of, I know they're making a comeback, but it really kind of reinforces that element of just being present with the music, like having the physical media there with you, so front and center. It just, yeah, it's cool, man.
And so we would listen to 3 records a night.
Which I loved. I know you guys thought it was long, but you also got to remember I work nights, so I sleep before this.
Yeah.
So I'm wide awake, so I can listen to 5 records if I wanted to.
I don't mind. I really didn't mind the duration that much. Like I could go pretty late, but it was just trying to remember what I had just listened to right after I listened to. I don't know. That was the trouble for me.
And the differences, like
exactly.
like let's say you start with a country album, and then I go with like a metal album, and then Jake goes with a hip hop album. Well, it was just you're just kind of all over the place.
Well, the very first record night was I did Warren Zevon's debut album, which is 70s, soft rock, for lack of a better term. I don't know. It's like
singer-songwriter.
Yeah. It's like it's I could call it rock, but it's like I don't know. It's more laid back than that, I guess.
Sure.
And then Jake did Brother Ali, so total, you know what I mean? An album from 2016 or something, rap, hip hop. And then you did the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, which is pretty similar to the Warren Zevon record, really. But so anyway, we have that like 70s soft rock, totally different, and then kind of back to like 60s, singer-songwriter acoustic kind of crap, so
I figured for record night, I figured like, okay, what's the best place to start?
Yeah.
And I figured Bob Dylan's first album. That's the best. For me, that's the best place to start.
Yeah, I agree. So then we went from there. Kyle started to join, so we were doing 4 records a night. And then really kind of early along the way, we had the idea to do a podcast, and I was thinking about it, but I didn't know how you guys would feel about it, so I brought it up with Jake, and he was like, no, I think that, fuck yeah, let's do it. So then we immediately after that, it kind of became, okay, well, maybe we should just focus on one record.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now. And I think the best part about that is just the pace. You know what I mean? Like if we were doing a record every week, I could keep up, but I don't know. Eventually we would run dry. And certainly Jake, because Jake, although he has a lot of music, as far as actual physical vinyl records he has, I don't think it's as many as
right. He buys a lot of his music like on iTunes and stuff like that. That's when he talks about buying music, he's more saying iTunes. But yeah, I try to buy a record. I try. The key word is try. I try to buy like a record, once every a week or 2. But I really haven't gone out. I mean, I bought a couple records with my uncle. We went out and I got a few records, but I haven't really bought any records recently.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, update us on, anything?
No, not really. Just keep spinning vinyl, everyone. You know what I mean? I really encourage everyone to do the same thing that we do, because as cool as this podcast is, get together with your buddies and spin some records, connect with your friends. There's not enough. There's enough digital in the world today. Like you should go back to basics sometimes. It makes an impact on your life. It's a great way to unwind at the end of the week. Open up a few beers, spin a vinyl. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Amen, brother. That's the other thing about record night that I think that was important for me is, when we first put on the Bluetooth speaker that night to listen to music, it was more just in the background, but it quickly became like what we were actually focused on. So I think that a lot of times everybody loves music. But a lot of times it's on at parties just in the background. I think the cool thing is to actually sit down and kind of make that the center of attention. And that's another thing that I think people should do more of.
It's a treasure trove, man. And even when we're sitting down, like analyzing it, there's things that can go over your heads that you don't even realize until you've looked at it again or listened to it again. So it just goes to show you how much music has to offer.